Hi, my name's Alvin, and I'm auditioning for Man with Hair number 2. Well, this is terrifying and stressful. I mean, all these things I have to remember to do and to say and to think. But I know that if I do them, it'll get me to where I want to go. Trust that He will lead us. Because I'm not on the stage alone. I'm not just Alvin up here. He asks us to trust Him. And in that trust, when we follow the rules that He sets out before us, He leads us. He is with us. Because you're not alone in your schools. Sometimes you may feel like you're tested or being judged or asked to do something against God. And that can seem really hard. You can feel like the weight of the world is on your shoulders. Like you're asked to choose sides, but you're not choosing sides. God actually created you to be on His side. And on that side, you can actually overcome all these tests. That makes us feel like we're alone on an empty stage. But sometimes rules, it's not easy or simple to follow, is it? We can still question the ones that we follow. But even as toddlers, we're told to follow rules, and it's not fun to hear. In fact, it feels pretty negative sometimes. But what if we took the negativity out of the rules and thought about them positively? It can be as simple as a rule to keep you safe. I mean, rules are everywhere, and sometimes they can be annoying. But let's take hockey, for example. If you were to take a puck and skate all the way down and just throw it into the net, it might feel easy for you. But you're going to have a lot of people with wooden sticks coming after you. You wouldn't be safe. I know it's a bit of a silly example, but sometimes rules aren't just there to help us to get from day to day. It helps the world get from day to day. But rules are everywhere, and they come from everywhere, whether it's from family, friends, school. But all these rules have a point to them. Even amongst your friends, maybe they tell you to wear pink on Wednesdays all the time. But let's talk about rules in the Bible, because those rules point us to a greater life. Following rules can still feel hard, even when we know that they're good for us or that they can help us. But let's think about the meaning of those rules. Let's go back to where they came from. They actually came for relationships. I mean, think about if you were being asked to wear pink on Wednesdays. They actually help to build relationships so that they're better, more consistent, more sustainable. They help mold these relationships to be unbreakable friendships that stand any test. And that's what God wants with us. Because it's from that trust and from following the rules that He's asked us to obey that we can actually stand in judgment alone. Knowing the rules, living them out, letting them speak through our lives and be an example to our friends. Sure, it might feel like a large responsibility. But when we trust Him, we are not alone. We can stand in the spotlight. And trusting in Him and the rules that He has set before us will actually help us to succeed. We have no reason to fear judgment. God's rules aren't there to take away the joys of life. If anything, they help us to achieve a greatness, to actually experience a greatness that has the truest joys of life. But in order to do so, Jesus gives us this challenge. He says, unless your righteousness is greater than the Pharisees and the teachers of the law, you cannot enter the kingdom of heaven. Now that sounds like a tall order. I mean, to follow the rules better than the people who actually teach about the rules. And yet God says, when we lean on Jesus, we can see the purpose of His rules. So rules don't have to be seen as a limitation, but rather maybe as tools that help build to this greatness that's waiting for us. We don't have to see rules as a negative thing or maybe even as punishments necessarily. But what if we saw them as steps into the future, into your future, into the pathway that God has made for you so that you could find Him? The greatest hockey player didn't get to greatness just by being lucky. They mastered the rules. They incorporated it into their lives And they excelled at it so that others can see what it takes to be a great one, not just the person who picks up the puck and walks away with it. Jesus says you can be greater than the Pharisees. You can be greater than the people who actually teach about his rules in Matthew chapter 5. If you trust him, if you actually follow the steps that he set before you, the rules that he set before you. And when you actually live that, when you actually live the life that God has called you to live. So, let's begin this journey. And that one day you might be able to hoist the greatest prize. And take a bow.